Hi, welcome to the Nobodies Project. This is where I interview artists across all different mediums about their creative process, how they started, maybe where they're going, maybe their favorite project, maybe their least favorite project, their biggest rut, how they stay creative. And bigger than that, this is a community. So we want you to be involved. We want you to submit your artwork to us, and you can do that at submit@thenobodiesproject.com. You can send us an email, and we promise to give you honest, real feedback because we think everybody deserves it. And that feedback isn't just going to come from us at the Nobodies Project, it's also going to come from the featured artists that you see on our website and in this episode. This week we have Mollie Dorna, who is co-founder of Nobodies Project, does all the photography, helps with the design stuff, does a lot of it, helps with the website, does all this stuff. It would take, honestly, a week to go over all the things that she does for the Nobodies Project. Wouldn't be here without her. And I'm so excited for you to hear about not only the stuff she does for the Nobodies Project, but her photography, which is really where she shines. And I cannot wait for you to hear more about her. This is the Nobodies Project.
Wait, where am I looking?
Well, there's a lot of cameras, but that's the main one. But I'm pretty much just going to look at you because I think it's kind of weird to look at the camera most of the time. But this is the Nobodies Project. Somebody else who works on the Nobody Project, Mollie here. Bradley, our producer, is leaving back there. Mollie's a photographer, a designer. We started working together when we worked at Nike together, when we were both not designers. We were packing shoes, and that was designing in its own way. Thank you for being on the project as if you had a choice. And then I always like to ask, what do you do for money? And then what do you do for art?
Art.
Like,
okay.
Why am I interviewing you?
Yeah, because I'm cool. No. So for money, I work at Columbia Sportswear, and I am a digital designer. And so I mainly work on all their marketing stuff for their website and build website pages and then emails and then social media marketing, kinda.
Right.
And then for art, photography is my thing.
The main jam?
The main jam.
Yeah. And then she talks about building web pages for Columbia, but she's also the one who kind of wireframed out and designed the website that you're probably seeing this on, or you're on YouTube. So you're seeing some of the branding of which we came up with together.
Yep.
But it is funny that you said Columbia Sportswear because I thought, like, that's interesting to say that, but then I've told people that you work at Columbia, and they're like, the university? It's like all the time.
Well, when I first got the gig, my cousin worked and studied at Columbia University, and she's like, oh my God, you're coming to Columbia? And I was like, no. I'm staying on the West Coast and working at a sportswear company, so it gets completely confused all the time.
Yeah, but both very, very cool gigs. I'd like to get to like how you got there, because, and then the other thing is, your art is photography.
Oh my God!
And how did you get to not photography, but in the same realm is basically what I'm going to ask. Like, how did you get there?
This is like your favorite question that you're trying to figure out about me.
Yeah. That's what I'm here to do, figure stuff out.
Yeah. Okay. So part one was how I got there, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
You can go as far back as you want.
Oh God. Okay. I mean, I've always had an interest in design. Went to college for child psychology. And got in my psych class the first day and was just like, can't do this because I'm going to get too attached to the patients, and that's the last thing you want to do. Switched schools.
I feel like a lot of people start as psych majors and very few finish.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Did they like try to weed you out, or was it just like gen ed? Like what brought you to the art part?
Yeah, because I did child psych in high school. Like, we had like a preschool attached to our high school, and I would go in there.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And like I would work with kids every day.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was sick. I really liked it. And that's kind of what led me to go into college for it. And then when I got there, it was like the gen ed class. And very different than gen ed high school child psych, because that's when it gets real. And I don't think they were trying to weed us out. I mean, maybe, but I was just sitting there and they were just kind of telling me like what the schedule of a psychologist would be, all the different facets of psychology. And like, I sat there in the room and I'm like, I'm too much of like a caring person, which is what you want in a child psychologist. But I take it to where I would never be able to separate myself from my work. And that's super unhealthy. Like, I want to help people, but if I'm destroying myself in the meantime.
You can't help people when you're destroyed yourself.
Right, exactly. And so, I kind of just sat there and I was like, nope, not doing this anymore. And tried to see if I could do design, because I just kind of like sat with myself and I was like, what do I want to do with my life as a freshman in college?
Yeah. It's a good thing you're not like going into debt or anything like that.
Truly.
Yeah. You got lots of time.
Yeah, and exactly. And my dad, I had just
You're
gotten
18.
accepted into a private school. And so my dad is like, all right, he's like, this is the first term and you've already decided you don't want to do what you want to do. And so I sat with myself and I was just like, what do I like? What have I always had an interest in? And what of those things can I make a reality? And design kind of like came into play for that, as well as photography.
Yeah, which is funny because everybody should do that before they go to college, and they should like have the college like give you a free first semester to like figure out what your thing is.
Yeah.
But also so many people, myself included, didn't sit down and go, what do I want to do?
Right. No, yeah. And I think I probably did it a little too late, because like you said, you should
People do it way later.
That's fair. But I feel like you should kind of go into college. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of people that come in undeclared, so I guess it's just whatever. But
who are those people? You got money to burn.
Truly. But yeah, and so I tried to see if I could do design at my school that I was at. And even though they're a liberal arts college, they don't have a design program.
Yeah, that arts is subjective.
Yeah, exactly. And so I decided to transfer schools and went to Oregon State and did all the like prereqs for the graphic design program. And you had to like do all these prereqs and then take like a design test. And then they would see if they would want to put you in the program for 4 more years. Yeah, like submit a
portfolio basically.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like a super high year of applicants. So I think there were like 200 plus applicants and only 20 spots.
Oh, dang.
And like none of my friends got it. And they are successful designers today. And I also didn't get it.
I was going to say, like, is this a bragging moment? Like, what is this rearing to?
And so then I was like, well, shit, like, what do I do now? And then photography kind of came into my mind, and that kind of led me down to...
Because that's not the first time that you've done photography. It's not like you were like, I kind of like cameras.
Yeah, no, like, cliche, my grandfather got me my first camera.
Which was a... do you remember?
Canon T2? I can't remember. It was a starter camera. Yeah. Like the newest one at that time.
Sure.
And... because I always enjoyed taking pictures, but just like never took it seriously. And I'd watch my grandfather on like our trips, and he wouldn't be just taking like the classic grandfather picture just to put in a scrapbook. Like he was composing, and like you could see his wheels working. And I always liked to watch that process with him. And so then he kind of picked up on that and bought me my first camera.
Nice.
But then I just never took it seriously.
Yeah. Which I totally understand. I was like that. Like I was the one in the family who always wanted to take the pictures, but I never, especially with a lot of the creative stuff, which is like a big reason for this project, is a lot of people don't realize you can make money and make a career out of stuff that, at least when you're growing up and right out of like people are like, oh, it's just a silly hobby. Yeah. But like with Etsy shops and like all this stuff now, it makes it easier than ever, but also more competitive than ever, which makes the art even better. Yeah. And I mean, we can get into it later, but that's kind of one of my setbacks, is that it's such a hard industry to break into. And it's scary.
And it's scary. Yeah. But yeah, and so transferred to Oregon State, didn't get into the program, and found myself in new media communications to study animation and video, which obviously...
But that's not in the art school?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, they had like, it's like all these separate entities. It was weird, and like none of them fell in the right college, sub-college of the college. It was weird. So did new media communications for all 4 years, but then made my minor photography when I sat in my intro to photography class. And what was funny about that is one of my good friends at the time had taken it the term prior, and she's like, it's a horrible class. The teacher sucks. Like, I don't know why you're taking this. And I was like, whatever. Halfway through that summer, they switched.
Love it.
Yeah, sure. All these negative reviews, but I'll go for it
that
anyway.
road is closed. You're like, is it?
Is it? I'll be the teller of that. But then halfway through the summer, they switched professors, and he, thank God, because he's the one that kind of gave me that drive to keep playing with my photography. And one of the funniest, and I'm still close with him now, but one of the funniest things he ever said to me was, well, in intro to photography, I was just fucking off the entire time, because I just was like...
Because it's almost like a high school class, like a high school yearbook. It's like...
Right.
Yeah, like 4 kids take it seriously, and they all are going to do that.
Right.
And I'm just going to get an A and get out of here.
And, I tried. I definitely tried, but I obviously didn't push myself, because I remember one of our projects, we had to go out and, photograph 1 square mile. And I went out to, a park, and I came back and was presenting, and he was, going through my images, which are all shit.
Do you have to present in front of everybody?
Oh, yeah. Every critique.
I hated that.
I hated it, but then I got so used to his classes, and our core group just kept going to those classes that it was just like I was talking to my friends. So it just ended up being chill.
I felt like, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he was going through all the photographs, and he stopped at one, which at the time I thought was my best one. And he was like, Molly, this looks like a Windows screensaver. And I was like, oh, shit.
The iconic image. That's been... More people have seen that image than anybody else, so kind of a compliment.
Kind of a backhanded
But that also
compliment.
reminds me of whenever I show you photos to critique, and I'm like, I know this one's good, and then you're just like, eh.
And you always point it out. You're like, why didn't you like this one?
And that's what you were like with in that class?
Yeah. Truly. And so then I sat with that, and I was like, okay, if I want to make this a thing, I need to really work on this, because I don't want to make Windows screensavers for the rest of my life. And so that summer I just followed a bunch of people on YouTube and kind of went through their trail of their website, Instagram, all those things, a lot of Gen Z social media shit, and kind of tried to hone my craft and figure out what type of photography I wanted to do, and then in that, how I could make it my own. Yeah.
You mentioned playing with your photography more.
Yeah.
How does that differ from so playing with your photography and then client work? How does that is that factored in? Do you tell clients, hey, I'm going to I play with take me through that kind of?
Yeah. I mean, at the beginning of it, it's truly just going out and not getting in your head, which is already hard.
Yeah.
And just photographing whatever, and then going back and reviewing it and being like, okay, I really like how this is turning out. Let me experiment the next time with how I can make that look better.
Right.
And then also just within that, looking at other photographers that fit that vibe and see what their process was like.
Yeah.
And then that kind of falls into the client thing, because then clients are going to want to work with you if they like your vibe. You're not... the most recent example is my cousin just got married. And one of the things she said is we want to find a photographer that's going to match what we want as a vision for this day. And you don't want someone that's going to be isn't what you want as your aesthetic.
Yeah.
And so your clients know who they're signing up for, basically.
Because good photography, while there are a lot of rules to it, it's subjective at the end of the day, any art thing. So when you have clients that is, especially when you're starting out, I'm sure your understanding of this, you're going to take everybody.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about vibe.
Yeah.
I care about money because I'm in college, and $100 is a lot of money to me right now.
Yes, truly.
But as, you progress and, learn more, obviously, you can just be only things that fit your vibe.
Yeah.
And then you said you use YouTube and YouTube and Instagram to learn.
Yeah.
Do you think you learn more in in the YouTube world or in school? Do you think it's absolutely necessary to go to school for photography stuff, or how much does that help you?
I mean, I don't know if this could be a hot take, but I really don't think you need to go to college for that. I didn't go to college for graphic design, and look what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I...
Same boat.
Right, exactly. my degree maybe helped me get there,
Yeah.
but more of my work experience outside of college. Because at the end of the day, college is structured and life isn't structured. And
No.
so you're not going to like...
Depending on the company you work for, that's not structured either.
Yeah. Which we've had that experience. But so you're not going to have like an assignment, like a homework assignment that's going to be graded and have this like set structure around it. Like that's just not life.
Yeah.
So I don't really think you need to go to college for it. But I do think my professor helped. Like I had a lot of professors and they all really helped. And also opportunities in college. I don't think, it's not that it wasn't accessible, but it probably wouldn't have been something I fully did was like darkroom photography without school. Cause like that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And being able to...
The barrier to entry is very high for that.
And so like all I had to provide was my camera. Like they provided me with my film reels and I just, and like...
film's expensive.
Exactly.
Especially right now.
And then I got to like develop it all, but I didn't have to buy any of that product to develop. It was all there.
Yeah.
And the space. So like, I think there's definitely pros and cons, but
and not to be the person, but you pay tuition, which is pretty expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, for what I've heard, it's less about the stuff like you were actually taught, and it's more about the connections you made and, like you said, the opportunities. So the connection with your professor is obviously one of the biggest reasons why you're doing photography.
Yeah.
Like your grandpa, this professor, right up there.
Well, and then there was definitely like doubts, but I think one of the times where I was like, I can probably keep going with this was like after I'd put in the work. I came back that next year and the professor was like, I don't know what happened to you or what you took, but your photography is like night and day. Yeah. And I think that was also extremely helpful with me, like wanting to continue on with it. And
Are you somebody who, sorry, I didn't mean
I was just going to say, I don't know if like I didn't have that professor, I would still be doing it.
Doing photography at all?
Yeah. I don't know.
That's something I was going to ask is, are you somebody who... I'm somebody who, if I do something, I'm not good at it, I don't like it. That's just but there are certain things, like, for example, working with cameras, getting more into this where I'm not good at it, but I really want to get better. Are you somebody who, you see something that you like, even if you suck at it, you're going to get better at it? Or are you like, I'm going to naturally be a little good at it to give myself a jumping off point?
I think it varies.
Like, where's that drive to get better, I guess?
Yeah. I think it's the passion I have behind it.
Okay.
Like, photography is like my passion, and so I don't want to fall behind the curve, basically. Yeah. So I will keep up with it because I want to keep pushing myself, and it's a form of therapy for me. Like it's done so much for me that like that's what drives me to continue with it. But I wouldn't say I have that drive for everything. I think it's just
not even everything in the creative. Like,
right. Exactly. Yeah. Like it just depends on it's just like what I want to dedicate my time to, and that's what I'll categorize as this is where I'm gonna just keep pushing it. So
what is well, first off, we should probably address, like, we are in this big spot for a reason, not just because it like looks nice, which I hope it looks nice, but take me through like some of your favorite projects, because I know that you've used this car park like a number of times, and we've used it for Bradley, who's on the podcast, and producer's music video, and you've used it for other stuff. Like, is this one of your favorite spots for a reason? Oh yeah, it's just the architecture is just so cool, and like the photos I've been able to get out of it are some of my most, like, I'm very proud of them, and they're the most well liked by the public. And like, I mean, look at it, like all of this, you're just on the top of a parking garage. Who knew this could exist? And it just gives you that city vibes, but like industrial. I don't know. Yeah, it's every just really angle's cool. Different too. You can see the river over there. Yeah, you can see the mountain that way. Cue all the B-roll. Yeah. Exactly. This is probably one of my favorite spots. Another one is another parking garage that is just all walls of glass, basically. And I get some pretty sick shadows out of that in a lot of my work. And it's just a really cool area. One question, I think I've asked you this before, is, and I've come to appreciate it more now. Oh God! But I've been somebody who's like, take me through like portrait photography,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I'm one of the people, I'm sure I'm not alone, is like, you just take a picture of a person, and it's usually like, oh, it's a very pretty person, so it's a pretty photo. Like,
Yeah.
take me through like why portrait photography you'd probably say is your favorite form of
Yeah.
photography.
Because it tells a story about that person.
Mhm.
You can tell, even at surface level, it could just be a beautiful person in a pretty spot. But it also is like the story behind all of that. And like portrait photography, in my eyes, is probably one of the hardest ones, because you have to work with another human and make them comfortable in front of a camera when they might not always be.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was leaning to. I was like, how do you get models?
Yeah, because it's such a process. And like, I know there are thousands of ways to get the shot you want. Mine is, I like to build a relationship with the model.
Yeah.
And because I know if I'm in front of a camera, I am super, super uncomfortable. And some of the people I work with have never modeled in their life before. And I want them to feel like they don't have to be like all tense and awkward. Like, it's okay that it's just a lens in front of you and I'm the person you should be paying attention to, which I'm a hypocrite because I don't follow any of this.
I was like, how do you do that? Because I struggle with that a lot with model photography. I do some of that stuff with my job, and it's like, I do a cheap out where I just go, all right, you guys just, because I work for a brewery. Yeah. You guys drink beer and have a conversation. I'll take candidates. But how do you get to model? Is it, because the thing that especially with the first time, because we did a photo shoot together for Nike, and I was just blown away. It's when, everybody will look at a model and say, oh, they just stand there. Yeah. And they don't even smile sometimes. And then you like go to a photo shoot, and then you see real models, and then you can see, like, for example, somebody who I'm going to try to get on the pod, maybe I won't do it now, but we've been in communication. She was unbelievable at just every single time she looked exactly like how a photo should look. Yeah. Yeah. And like, how is that relationship, like model to photographer relationship, and like respect there?
I mean, you have to respect each other's craft to begin with. And if you're an experienced model, I think we're thinking of the same person. Yeah. They've been around the block a couple times, so they know what to do in front of a camera. So actually that photo shoot was very easy for me, because
she made it so
easy. She made it so easy. Like, I definitely tried to get to know her and had a conversation with her, but she knows what to do in front of a lens, and I just have to tweak, which is the dream. Yeah. But it's also kind of, not that I didn't love doing that photo shoot, because it's it turned out great, but I kind of like the challenge of trying to make it like a professional look, even if they're not this isn't their day job. So it's a lot of respect between the two of us, and kind of an unsaid understanding that you know what you're doing, I know what I'm doing. Let's just vibe and see how this works out. So I'm
going to ask you one more question, then we'll pause just to make sure cameras are all good. Flip side of that. So you know what you're doing, I know what I'm doing. How's the imposter syndrome?
Oh, it's thick. I would say it's, I don't know, I go back and forth with it with photography. Design, I feel like a huge imposter. With photography...
Okay, I was going to get back to the original question, which is why is it not photography and why is it design? How did that differ? But we'll stay here. We'll get back to that.
Yeah. But design, I fade in and out of it a little more than I do with photography. I get it for a split second with photography, which kind of makes me sound like an asshole. But I feel like when I start an actual photo shoot, it just kind of falls away.
You just go into the zone.
I just go...
You might be nervous once you get there,
right.
But...
Yeah, almost every photo shoot, well, not so much anymore, but it used to be that, A, if I haven't done that type of photography in a long time, or B, I've never worked with this, all these factors, I would get so in my head about it and just tense up, whatever. But then the minute I had my camera in my hand and I took the first couple shots, I just fell back into the rhythm, and then it just kind of all fades away.
Right.
And it's funny because I can see when I'm in my head and when I'm not in my head when I look at my photos, because when I'm in my head, they look like beginner photographs because I'm trying to I don't know what
prove to yourself that you're supposed to be there.
Right, exactly. And then when I let that go and I just take a deep breath, I'm I know what I'm doing. I've been doing it for years. Those are the photos I get that are amazing. So I sound like an asshole, I feel.
I think it's good to, I don't think it would be healthy if you had no imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But there is that reassurance of like once you've been doing something long enough, you instantly go, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I feel good about it.
It's kind of like riding a bicycle in my head at this point.
Yeah.
Like if I haven't done it for a while, it's a little bit scary, but then I get back on and it's just like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But then it comes back when I'm editing and getting ready to like share it.
Ooh, there's nothing worse than the dread of being like, I don't have anything.
Right, exactly. And also that's when it kicks in overdrive. I'm like, I really like what these are looking like, but is that just like, am I messing with my head? Like, are these actually good? And that's why it takes me so long to not only produce images, but like share them, because that's how the imposter syndrome hits me.
What's worse for you when you think you had a bad shoot and you going at it and you're like, oh, this is bad.
Yeah.
And then you're going to share, you have a bug on your leg.
Okay.
And you go to share it, so you're not confident at all. Or when you're really, really, really confident and you go to share it. Because for me, I'm not even close to your levels to where when I think it's really good, I'm like, well, if they don't like this, I'm fucked. Because like the thing I think is good is terrible. But there's a lot of times where I go, this isn't very good. I don't know about this. And then they love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hypocritical of what I just said, but I guess the other layer is I go through that process of being like, I hate this, I don't want to share it, whatever. But then I get to the point where I'm just like, you know what? I'm proud of this. And like, if anything, this will just be a learning opportunity with the feedback I receive from it.
Right.
So I think it's almost worse when I know I go into a photo shoot and I can't get anything. That kills me more than like getting shots that I may like and might not be well received.
Sure.
But at least I did it, and at least it's something I'm proud of, especially if it's been like a long time since I've done a photo shoot.
Yeah.
It kind of brings me back into like, well, it's been a while, but I know I got stuff that I like. So now I'll learn for next time, and I'm back in it, so it's going to be fine type thing. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
So it's always getting better in some way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can ever reach your peak. I think you should always be learning.
Especially with creative stuff. That's something that I was actually lamenting on recently is like, especially with creative stuff and with life in general, it's kind of cool that you never win.
No.
It's always going.
Yeah. I think you can have those moments where you feel like you have a win.
You have victories. You never win, though.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, 100%.
Cool.
So,
let's take a pause, and then we'll come back. We'll hit a couple more fun questions, like your ruts and all that stuff.
God, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay.
That is,
tracks.
bless your heart. Okay, we're back. Surprisingly, it's not for a technical issue. It's just for a break. Make sure these cameras don't, work too hard. You know? And good transition, me. Welcome back. So let's get back into it.
Yeah.
What's
imposter syndrome.
We went on a lot of positives. So let's go into what's your worst creative rut?
Okay.
And like, how do you get out of creative ruts? Do you remember one of your like lowest like rut moments where you couldn't do anything? I don't know. Take me through it.
I would say I'm getting out of a rut right now. I don't know if it's my lowest / hardest rut, but I think my biggest rut was right out of college.
Oh yeah.
Because A, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. B, I just feel like the structure I had was just completely stripped away. And kind of, I said earlier in this podcast that like college is not what life is, like, especially with photography and, well, any degree.
Oh yeah.
But like everything you have is like a structure. There's an assignment, blah, 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 blah. And then life is completely different from that. That transition was hard for me because
it's hard for a lot of people, but I feel like not to take it away from you, but for creatives, it's even harder because like, even if you do get a job, you're not going to get paid well.
No.
And it's not like, I'm sure somebody will correct me here, but for example, and my mom's a teacher, I'm not shitting on teachers, but when you're a teacher and you graduate, you know what to apply to.
Yep.
So when you're creative, you're like, I don't even know what I want.
I don't even know what to type in.
What in to type in, at least for a teacher.
Yeah, like, and
athletic trainer.
I mean, even with my most recent job, I would sit in front of, and we've talked about this.
Oh
like,
yeah, extensively.
I would sit in front of the computer and be like, what
What do I want to do when I grow up?
Is that an option?
And now you're on BuzzFeed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it was just really hard for me. Like, my first job out of college was being a retoucher at a photo studio here in Portland. And I remember I sat in the manager's office and we were trying to figure out how to fill out my W-2. And she had called her manager and put it on speakerphone, and he didn't realize it was on speakerphone, and was just like, just be honest, like, she's not going to be making that much money. She's not going to go anywhere with this. I was like, okay.
How do you react to stuff like that, especially at work?
Yeah.
Like, are you somebody who chip on your shoulder, like, I'll show them, or are you like, oh man,
that
you might be right?
I definitely, especially there, like, and that was even harder because the person that got me in the door, I respect like super well, and she like made me out to be this amazing person, and I didn't want to let anyone down. And so then hearing that, I was like, well, this is the end of my career. I'll go, like, I don't know what I'll do, but
nice 2 months in the industry. That's pretty sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I'll be a child psychologist now.
What's more dead? Yeah.
And so I think that was the biggest rut, is because I had someone telling me that, and then I had this college thing trying to figure out, and then on top of that, looking for other jobs was so hard. And so, like, those three things and you have to have a portfolio.
Oh yeah.
And it can't just be all your college work, because God knows that was all mostly shit. Like, there's only a couple things in there that I really like.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And getting out of it, I wallowed for a long time.
A lot of wallowing.
And then I eventually was just like, F this. Like, I thinking about how I felt when I did photography, and like the stuff I had produced that I really enjoyed. I knew it was too early to give up on it. And so I just like pulled myself out of it and was just like, F this, I need to go start photographing. And weirdly, that's how I got my job at Rescue, is because I went out and took photos, and Liz, our old boss, saw them on my portfolio and was just like, okay, do you want to pack shoes?
I know. I love how, like, I knew the answer to that, but imagine somebody listening to that. And that's how I got my next job, working for National Geographic, like working for Nike. Wow. Packing shoes, which eventually led you to where, as we're capping off the first question.
Yeah, because also I helped them like solidify their system for photographing things.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I've completely forgot about that, but that was a huge part of that.
Yeah.
It's not like the flashes photography, but it is like to take good product photography and get that to show up on the site photoshopped, and you're not like, that's photoshopped on there. It's hard it's harder than it looks.
And the system they had wasn't a bad, I mean, did you ever see the original system where it was like, okay, it wasn't bad. Like, they made their own shadow box basically, where they had like two lights and a why can't I think of the word? A seamless. And then like they put their shoe on a white block, but then there would be like tons of shadows, and people wouldn't keep the white paper clean, and they didn't want to spend a bunch of time in the back, like post-production, making that. So then they got this machine.
Oh my gosh, this machine.
But we were able to dial it in to where it actually took pretty uniform images.
Yeah, no, I'm saying the machine is just intense.
It was intense. Like, I remember Sean, our other boss.
Carrying a huge crate, you're half expecting like King Kong to come out of it.
One of my favorite memories of that thing, it was me and then two people that knew nothing about photography. Sean, who is a
self-proclaimed, I don't want to do anything creative.
Great human, but when he gets so stressed, he just loses it. And he wasn't able to get the system to work, and it was late in the day, and we were so pissed, and he was just like almost having a tantrum. I was like, I'm just gonna throw this off the roof, and like I had to come in the next day and apologize to me. And like, but that, although that wasn't my main job, like, it led me into doing more photography for them. And then my next job was doing design, but also a huge photo shoot. Yeah. And that they're still using images today. So I think if I didn't pull myself out of that rut and Liz didn't give me a chance, who knows, you know? So.
And then got the design job at Nike. And then
Which was
after
wild.
that, we decided to both part ways from Nike. And then you ended up at Columbia.
At Columbia.
And that's the answer to the first question I asked you. So I'm glad we have a nice little bow right there. So I want to get into more of like the grandeur part of photography, like where you see yourself in the landscape, like what would be the perfect world for you in terms of like, would you want to get paid to do photography exclusively? Mm-hmm. How much would you want to get like known, like stuff like that, like all the stuff that you're not really supposed to think about, but it is on everybody's mind.
Yeah. I mean, and this is still my dream. I just don't know how there is a clear route for me to make it happen, and you're about to roll your eyes at this, but my dream that I've had ever since I was a kid was working for a company and going out on location. There's a big boat that's going by.
Bradley, you'll take that out, right?
My dream has always been to shoot lifestyle photography for like an outdoor company and like go on location and do these like really cool product photography portrait shoots.
Sure.
And I feel like hold for a car. How are you lost? It's okay.
So all the interruptions are like right here.
Yeah.
All right. Go on.
What was the question? Because now I've lost track. You don't remember.
Well, basically, would you want to be known for it? Get paid for it?
Yeah. So my dream has always been to shoot lifestyle portrait photography for like an outdoor company.
Sure.
I still have that dream. Mm-hmm. But I think...
I mean, you're in a good place.
And I'm in a good place. And that would be like really sick. But I think not that it's more realistic, but I think it's something that could happen more like now, is educating people on photography. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy helping someone through the process, and it's so cool to see someone go from like amateur photography to being able to like find themselves and being a part of that is just really cool for me. But then I also get scared of that because I don't think I'm a good teacher. And so I like go back and forth. But I think being paid to do my passion is like the end goal.
Oh, yeah. I would assume that's for a lot of the creatives.
Yeah.
And even though you say you're not a good teacher, like in terms of my photography, I would not be half the photographer I would be without you helping me with a lot of my stuff. You're like you're the first person I send everything to because, I mean, you're the one who knows the most about photography, at least in my creative circle for sure, like way more than anybody else. So it's always nice to have somebody who's way better than you being like, I like this, you can do this better. And, it helps that we're very candid with our relationship where you can just straight up be like, that's not good. And honestly, I like that. I think that's great.
I feel bad sometimes when I do that because I feel like I burst your bubble.
Oh, all the time. But it's good for me. It's good for me. No, you should continue to do that.
Yeah.
And keep pushing that.
And like on my end, when I do that for people, it's cool because it's helping my craft. Because like I'm looking at a photograph and I'm using that creative outlet to figure out, okay, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, and this is what you need to do to make it better. And then that kind of like gets gears rolling for me, and it helps me with my photography later on, so I'm not a hypocrite.
Yeah, my biggest thing is if you really know something, you should be able to teach it.
Yeah.
And that really proves when you having expertise.
Yeah.
Because you've always seen somebody who like is trying to teach something and they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
Like you've totally been in a class where you're supposed to lecture, like do a lecturing class, and you don't give a shit about it, and you're just stumbling through it. Yeah, because there's no passion behind it.
Right. Truly. Yeah.
But sorry, there is somebody behind us, and I am just
Marky's thrown off.
I'm just camera shy. But the other thing I was going to ask is, so with that, and I kind of talked about how in my community, you're the photographer person I want to go to.
Yeah.
How is the photographer community? Because a big part of like the reason why we're doing Nobodies Project is to get that big community so that there are people who, somebody like me who didn't have a lot of friends in Portland, I met you through work, an easier access of like, if you're trying to get better at photography, like have somebody like you look at stuff like that.
It's super helpful. And like, I was able to thankfully like make a group of people from school that I'm still really close with, but it's so helpful to have that community because A, it gets you out of your head, And B, if you're ever on a technical side stuck with something, they're there to help you out. And C, and then part of that is that they can help you on photo shoots if need be, or they can lend you gear and like, which is all so helpful. And it just feels, again, this is cliche, but it feels kind of like a family, because it's like, I feel so comfortable with these people and I rely on them for their feedback when I'm like stuck or need a second pair of eyes on something. Like my favorite thing to do is right before I'm about to post and I've done all the like initial edits, I send them out to people and I'm like, tell me if you're just looking at this firsthand, what do you see? What needs help? What do you think is working? And I think if I didn't have that community base, my photos wouldn't be where they are.
Like that real honest feedback.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I think and that's why I think it's so important with this project that like we build that community, because I think there's a lot of people that aren't able to get that outlet very easily.
Yeah. Or get real honest feedback.
Yeah.
Because even if you post it online or if you show people, like for example, it's like showing all my photographs to my mom.
Right.
She's going to love them.
Yeah, because she's your mom.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
But
and
I want the real
worst.
honest stuff. And it's coming from love. But
right, and exactly. And like getting the fake feedback is probably like one of the worst feelings, because it's like, then you're in your head again. And then you're like, what the, like this isn't getting me anywhere.
And I'm sure you've had friends who got into photography and started posting photography, and then they're super green, very beginner.
Yeah.
They're posting stuff, but getting all these comments because they're just very active on social media, and it's almost like a negative.
I hate it because it's giving them a false reality. Like, and maybe this is just me, but I thrive.
Obviously, there's a little bit of cynicism about it. It's like, why aren't you commenting on my shit?
Because on my end, I want the true, honest, blunt feedback, because obviously not every single person is liking that photo. And I want the person that doesn't like that photo and why they don't like that photo, because then it helps me.
I'd love like a 3-question feedback on everything I post from like
just
500 people.
Like a discussion post.
Yeah. So like, tear me apart.
Yeah, because like if you're just getting constant like, this is amazing, this is great, you're doing great, like that's awesome.
Which is needed.
It's needed. It's totally needed. But that's not going to help you grow, because then you think you've made it. And then you're in this like false reality of like, oh, everyone likes what I'm doing, so there's no way for me to like excel from that. And I'm at my peak, which you never should be. And so I think that's why it's also extremely helpful to have that type of community, because you're going to get that feedback, and it's going to be brutal because it puts you in your place almost. But like, how else are you supposed to grow from that if you're not getting brutal feedback, you know?
I don't think you do grow.
Right.
I think that's how a lot of people get stagnant.
Yeah.
Kind of shifting gears a little bit.
Yeah.
So you don't work as a photographer. Well, you do client work, so you make money doing photography. That's part of it. But one of the things that we talked about is like ruts and all that.
Yeah.
How do you balance your time? Because work, you're being creative at work all day.
Yeah.
It's how do you get out of ruts when you're getting paid to every day be creative, and then B, find time to do your actual
stuff.
passion, and also just balancing life and that passion when you're not necessarily getting paid for a big portion of it.
Yeah. I mean, I love my job, and like it's a great company, but it may...
You can look at the camera and tell them that if you want.
I truly do.
Yeah. There's not a Columbia rep behind us or anything like that.
But it also isn't 100% my design style. And on a day-to-day basis, I'm not doing photography. And so like, it's a different part of my brain. So like, that's how I find time to do it, is because it's driving that passion.
So you can separate it.
I can separate
a lot.
it. Yeah. And then how I find time for it, I don't know. I'm still struggling with that. Like, I'm a night owl, and so I just tend to like design stuff or do photography, like editing, not actual photography, like late at night, and like that doesn't bother me, because Bradley, who you've probably met at this point.
I mean, you saw him back there.
Oh yeah, he was there. Like, he was saying how he's like producing his like record.
Yeah, his album right now.
And like he's pulling all-nighters, and he goes, it doesn't bother me though, because it's a passion, and like I actually enjoy it. So I relate to that in terms of like design and photography stuff. But there's also times where I'm just like, I get overwhelmed, I get my imposter syndrome, and I just get like burned out, and I just put it away for like a while. And that's a bad thing and a good thing because it allows me to reset. So I don't know. Did that fully answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
What about like social media? So I'm talking. So the interesting thing is we both have a big fan we're big fans of YouTube in general.
Yep.
Can you take me through any of your like ideas through that, and then like also with Instagram and socials, how is your relationship with social media?
Oh God, it ebbs and
especially
flows.
within the art. So we're all addicted to it.
We're all addicted to it, which is a problem. And then I watch these documentaries of how it's like ruining our life, which it totally is. But it's also hard because that's our reality of our job and like what we do. It's an extremely helpful tool if you find the right space. And I'm about to say something that's so, I feel old saying this, and I know you make fun of me for this. TikTok. Don't knock it till you try it, because yes, it has this cliche around about with these like dancing kids and like this stupid shit, but it's an extremely valuable resource. And like, I learned a ton of stuff about photography and design in there. And like, all forms of social media, especially YouTube, gives me ideas of what to do for my next shoot and helps me with like creative ruts. One of my favorite people, Mango Street Lab, like the amount of times they've helped me figure out like photo stuff. I also use them just to like learn new things. And I think that's super valuable because you can't find that in a textbook, and you can't like, I mean, you can experience it if you just go out, but it's nice to kind of have that to fall back on as like a tool. So I go like in and out of liking social media, because then there's also the bad side of it where you get in your head about your own work.
You're looking at a whole bunch of other people. You're worried about likes for no reason. Like,
and like, why am I not doing as well? Like that, and that's dangerous. But I like to, I tend to keep my mind in like, it's my resource, and not only getting my work out there, but also like learning. So yeah.
No, yeah, YouTube's been huge for any creative. I can promise you, YouTube and Reddit are two of the biggest resources, and we're living in an age where you can kind of figure out any problem right now as quick as possible.
And that's so helpful. Like the fact that if I'm ever having even just like a technical issue, I can just type it in and be like, here's a forum.
There's 14 other people that are pissed about it.
Yeah. And that's
then
so
Adobe
helpful.
representatives are answering it.
Yeah.
You're like, sweet.
And that's super helpful, because like, and that's the other thing is like, I feel if we didn't have social media, whatever form that could be, these large companies wouldn't notice some of these things are happening, because people are going to write an email to Adobe? Like, come on.
You get one big creator to send a tweet out, that thing gets fixed quick.
Right, exactly. So it's like, we're in the day and age where, well, this could also, that's a whole nother thing, is like instant gratification.
Yeah,
and that's good in the sense of like solving issues with our software
it's
or
bad
whatever.
in the terms of creating and
bad.
trying to create things quickly and all that stuff.
Yeah. So
when your best work is when you take your time.
Yeah. And so I think that's why I say it's like social media and all that is an ebb and flow, because there's always a good thing and there's always a negative thing about it.
So one question I like to ask almost everybody is, overnight, if you could get 1 million followers on Instagram, or in your case, TikTok. Yeah, let's go Instagram. Would you want that?
Yeah.
Granted, they could unfollow tomorrow.
I said that way too quickly, but yes. And it's not because I like worry about social blade and like algorithm. Like, I don't give a shit about any of that. That to me is just building a community of people that like what I like. Oh, yeah. And that is so exciting to me, because that drives me to make more things. But then it makes me feel more comfortable to reach out to this community and like feel like I've found a place. And it also drives me to continue making work, because at the end of the day, they want to look at you. They followed you for the reason, so they want to look at your stuff. So like, it just kind of, it's a drive thing for me. And
So it just give you extra motivation.
yeah. And like on another level of that, we talked about like, would I want to make money from photography? And my answer to like teaching, that would help me with that. Like I could
now
do
you have an audience, and now it's easier to get, because if you have a follower count of 1,000 and you get 1%.
Right. Yeah. And like, then there's also the other side of it, because then that's when imposter syndrome would probably come back heavy. Oh my God, because I feel like, and I think that's what stopped me from doing any sort of like tutorials or teaching. I know there are 1,000 ways to do things in these like editing softwares or even just like photographing, but I sometimes feel my way is the wrong way. So I'm like, I don't want to put this out there.
Yeah, in fear of embarrassment.
Right,
like,
exactly.
I do it this way, and they're like, you idiot.
Yeah.
You could have saved like 3 seconds.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
all right, well,
and like,
that's me with video editing.
yeah. And so it's just, it would be super exciting and dope and like all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I think I would probably get really nervous and like clam up. So, but I would like it. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to ask you about the Nobodies project,
Okay.
kind of why you're on all that stuff. But
Yeah.
first, we're going to do like some quicker fire.
Oh, shit.
Just like getting some stuff out of the way. Like, well, what was your first camera? It's with your grandpa gave it to you?
I can't remember what it was. A T3.
It's a Canon, right?
Yeah, Canon.
What is your favorite camera you've ever used?
My current one.
Your current one? I was going to ask what your current one is.
It's Sony A7 Mark III.
Yeah. There's other good
Favorite
ones.
lens, 35 millimeter.
Yeah, favorite lens. Yeah.
Or a 50. I like a 50 too.
Portrait's your favorite style.
Yep. But I will say, I'm trying to get back into like architectural, like streetish photography because I really like how some of that stuff has turned out recently. Like that golden hour one, I really love. So I don't know.
Favorite project?
Oh man. Well, I kind of have two. One was in college. I put my friend in milk. Which shout out to her because anyone that's willing to do that on a Sunday night with like a ton of milk around them, thank God, love her. And also the one I did in that garage,
I know which one you're talking about. We'll show it.
We'll show it, yeah. A couple months ago, I think at this point now. So.
Least favorite project that you've put out? Maybe the one that you thought was going to be good, and you look back and you're like, oh, what the fuck was I thinking?
The idea was there, and I do like some of the shots, but I did a whole series, film photography, on women empowerment, and this was in college, and like the negativity around and like feminism, all that kind of stuff. Had these great ideas for shots. I partly blame it on the technology because I screwed up the film. But I just don't, I think I could have represented it better than I did. So, yeah.
Biggest inspiration?
Like person?
Yeah.
2. One I would say is more like traditional, Gregory Crewdson. Oh, favorite human. Non-traditional, Mango Street Lab.
Ah, nice.
But I don't know if that's like, I wouldn't say non-traditional, but it's not like in the books. I don't know.
I mean, it's new school though. It's like YouTubing, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Biggest accomplishment in photography so far. I'm kind of alley-ooping because I think I know what it is.
Being able to shoot a photo shoot for Nike. Like,
yes, huge.
Is that the one you're thinking of?
No.
Oh, what were you thinking of?
I thought it was the when Mango Street Lab used your photo. But honestly, the Nike one's better. It is better.
The Mango Street, I forget about that, which is a terrible thing, but I just can't believe that happened. Like, for those of you that don't know, one of my photos got shared on their like Instagram and was used as an experimental photo to try out their new presets, and they like shared it, and I've been wanting to like get somewhat in contact with them forever. So that was
a big
cool.
win. Yeah,
that was a big win. That's really funny that I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's a good.
I would ask like your biggest defeat, but I think it's the person on the phone telling you.
Oh my God! Yeah, that was a big one.
Definitely that one.
Yeah.
Dream person to photograph, especially with portraits.
Oh,
like celebrities.
Shoot. I've never thought about that.
Now you are.
Crap. I don't know. I don't know.
You don't have like a favorite celebrity? Maybe like Chelsea Cutler or something like that.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Good shout out. Yeah. Photographing, I have never thought I could do like tour photography, but that's also
that's a dream of mine.
That's another like cool thing I would be interested in doing is like be the behind the scenes person and being able to go to a concert of someone that you love every
full
night.
access.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You nailed it. Yeah, that would probably be a dream person to photograph. And her style is sick. Her and Quinn.
Yeah.
Because Quinn is very Wes Anderson,
Yeah.
which I love. So, yeah. And I guess, now I'm ranting, someone to work alongside in the photography world would be Gregory Crutzen for sure. But I think it would be cool to work alongside Wes Anderson and shoot with him.
Will be a production photographer.
Yeah.
Because I did not know that was a thing. So taking
yeah.
all the stills behind the scenes
Yeah.
and stuff,
So
it's
I think
actually really
it's
cool.
not a human I would want to photograph, but like an environment I would want to photograph.
In movies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be
that's
sick.
an awesome one.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Nobodies project a little bit.
Great rapid fire.
Thank you. Off the top of the dome there.
I could tell it wasn't very rapid.
Whatever.
I'm kidding.
So Nobodies project, you're in my close knit of creative people, so I'm always going to come at you with like these silly, stupid projects that I do.
Yep.
But with this one, I feel like it's a lot different than a lot of those silly, stupid ones because it's a little bit more grand. I had a lot more buy-in from you, from Kyle, from Brad, all that stuff. What made you buy in and why are you involved in it? And I'm not looking for compliments. I'm looking at like for you.
For
like,
me.
what are you getting out of it?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff on our website right now is going to be, it's not what, the art does for you. It's what the art does for you, not what you get from the art.
Yeah. Well, baseline, it's a design style I really like. Like, I had creative freedom and just could do whatever. So, like, for myself, that was cool. Bigger picture, I love the idea behind it because at the end of the day, it's to build a community in the creative world, which needs to be a bigger priority because I don't think there's a lot of those.
Which it is out there, but I would love to make it more personal.
Yeah.
And easier to get in.
Yes.
Because even like Reddit, like everybody's like, well, there's all these subreddits.
Yeah.
I am scared shitless to post on r/photograph or photography.
Never.
Any of those. I am so scared. Even the more specified ones like Sony, this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm scared to be like posted on there and not get real feedback or no comments at all.
Yeah.
So like one of the big things I want to promise, not to take over here, is like if you submit your stuff, at least 2 to 3 people will give you real feedback. And we'll try to get to every single person.
And that's huge. And I think that it's just so community driven because you've also talked about, which was really cool, would be like, eventually when this makes money, it would be great to put this back into the art for like the youth. Because
there would be no way this would be a for-profit. This would be a nonprofit.
A nonprofit, which I love because I think it's so important for like the younger generation to learn about art. And because it's such a big part of our lives. And
because if there was a photography class maybe in high school that's easier to access and then also in middle school.
Right.
And for me, if it was a video thing in middle school, and I know it was in high school, but making that almost mandatory that you have to do some kind of art, use a camera, do something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have wasted almost 10 years figuring out what I really want to do.
Well, and it's funny
it's not wasting, but
I know what you mean. And it's funny you say that actually because like I grew up in a small town where electives there weren't a lot of elective classes. Yeah. I unfortunately didn't take...
And art is one of the first ones that's going to get cut.
It's cut, yeah. They didn't have anything like that in middle school. In high school, they had like video production, yearbook, and journalism. Journalism and yearbook, I don't know why I didn't do them, but like I did video production. And I think, like you're saying, it would have been helpful if I knew that there's more than just those things and that it doesn't have to be so structured. And that's another thing I like about this project. It's just a space.
I would love a class where, honestly, I did have one class. It was an acting class, ironically enough. Acting 2.
Oh, you made it past level 1?
Yeah, I did 2 classes.
Wow.
It's for a girlfriend at the time. But one of them was making a commercial.
Do you have this?
This commercial?
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
I need to see it.
Yeah. I'm proud of it still.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait,
I can tell you about it after.
I feel like a dick.
But getting my hands on a camera and actually filming that, now looking back, I'm coming to this realization in real time is like, that's definitely where my, I would love to do video.
How sick would it be if like Nobody's projects could have like community events?
Oh, that is 100%
Like,
so one of my ideas was a farmer's market.
Oh yeah. See,
but not only selling from our artists is like shops and also like instructional, like almost like it's like a little college class.
Yeah. And I think like, see, and that's what I love is that Nobody's project is so open-ended in a good way because there's just so many avenues you can go. And it doesn't mean you ever have to get like siloed into one of those avenues. Like you can easily just like jump around, and I feel like I'm ranting, but like this is also coming to me real time. I don't know. I just love that it's the basis is helping people break from their maybe ruts or starting out and not knowing where to begin. Like this could be like a jumping off point. And then giving back is like, that's always been something I wanted to do. And it's cool. Like I've been able to figure out ways to do that. But I think having people figure that out sooner is huge. So
my biggest thing with this project is typically through a project, I have an idea I really like.
Yeah.
And then, you're really excited about it. And then you get halfway through and maybe you like don't have the expertise to do it. You don't have the experience to do it. You start wavering a little bit. This is one of the few projects that even though I don't have the expertise, what I did is I went out and I got people who know what they're doing. So designing a website, Kyle Rothkamp doing some of the copy, Kyle Gandy writing articles, Bradley doing the sound and everything like that.
Yeah.
And instead of kind of wavering off because I don't quite know what I'm doing yet, I got more and more excited.
And also, you also get to learn about different avenues.
Oh, yeah. Like, selfishly, I get to learn about everybody. It's great.
I'm stoked about that because, like, we talked about this the other day, is it would be a dream to do merch. And you're like, you're going to help me with screen printing. And I'm like, I've always wanted to do that.
Oh,
so, like,
screen printing's great.
It's cool that even on our end, there's still ways for us to enjoy what we're doing. And have it be like...
The second we stop enjoying this, I don't want people involved. You know what I mean? Like, if we're getting... Obviously, it's a different thing if it's, people's jobs, all that stuff. Yeah. But we're all doing this for free.
Yeah.
And I know that's not great with creatives, but there's buy-in for it because of the message behind it.
Yeah.
And I'm just really excited to see what people can do with it.
Yeah, I am too.
It's just going to grow and get better because, of course, the first podcast, like the first Hank and Bradley podcast, probably not as good as this one.
Well,
but the whole thing about Nobody's project is getting better.
Yeah, from
and
each
having
thing.
a spot to get better and not feel bad about being bad.
Yeah,
because I feel bad when I like do a video for somebody and show them it's bad. Right? I don't want people to have that fear. I want someone to be like, there are some good parts here. Let me help you do it this way.
For sure.
And that's probably the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, you had a great answer compared to mine, but...
Well, I would hope so. I made the thing.
Great. Remember that, but you have to write it on the website.
Yeah. Kyle, you do the copy. Are you listening? All right. We'll get out of here. One last question I'd like to ask is, do you think that you'll make it big? However you define that.
Ooh. I would like to hope. I have
What a
hope.
non-committal answer.
Because I also, like... That's such a hard, that's a hard question. Like, would I like to make it? Yeah. Is there the opportunity to make it? Yeah. Will I? I don't know.
Where's your confidence at for making it? Here is your,
I'm right 100%.
There. You know you're going to make
down
it.
Here,
it's like, I'm quitting
like
tomorrow. Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, right at like 55?
Yeah.
60?
Let's get generous, 65.
Okay. Fair enough.
I don't know.
What's your definition of making it though?
Ooh, God, you're asking all the tough questions now. I think if I'm able to help someone grow their craft, I think is making it. Like, being able to be that person that they can rely on and I can see their progression and do that for multiple people.
Nice.
So it has nothing to do with me. It's more about how
it is. It's a little selfishly. Like, if you look introspectively, it's going to be, I'm helping other people, but that makes me feel good because I'm helping other people, that whole thing.
Yeah, I think making it as being a source people can come to to help grow their
Is that
art.
through, and we've talked about this as well, is that through like running a YouTube channel where you teach people? Like, I know YouTube is something that you have a, big fandom of.
I've always thought about wanting to start a YouTube channel, just never like thought I could. I still have doubts that I can, but I think doing it through YouTube, which then could evolve to like forming obviously an online community that could then maybe I run my own business in like doing like counseling in terms of
education
in terms of photography. I don't know. That could be me making it, is if I'm able to run my own company where I'm helping people, or like running my own photo agency, but that would be hard because I wouldn't want to do the management side. I want to do the actual, I want to do the production side of it. So,
so a lot of different avenues.
Yeah, obviously I don't know what I want. Because earlier I talked about my dream being like
going on tour with a musician.
Or like doing lifestyle photography for like a sports company. So like obviously I have many different avenues, but any one of those I think would be a sign of
keep it open-ended. You have one specific goal in mind and you don't hit it, you're disappointed.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, but that was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Good job.
Thanks.
Proud of us.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I should probably do like a more like, thank you for being and listening and watching this whole thing.
Did you turn that back on?
No, it's still, I never turned it off. If you want to find some of Mollie's stuff, she will have her Instagram, probably I'll probably use hers, her shot, her Instagram. We'll show it there on screen.
Yep.
There'll be a bunch of work on her page and article ring, all that good stuff. Lots of stuff.
Oh shoot, I forgot.
Lots more stuff, and then you'll also be able to ask her questions, all that good stuff. Which, since she's one of the core members of the Nobodies Project, she'll be one of those people giving a lot of feedback and answering a lot of questions, and giving me a lot more free labor. So thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into this podcast. If you want more information on this artist, you can find it on our website, nobodiesproject.com. You can follow us on Spotify as well as on our socials at the Nobodies Project on Instagram. But more importantly, we want you to be a part of this community, and you do this by submitting your artwork to us. We want the things that you're the most stoked on, maybe things that you're too nervous to show anybody else, but we want all of it. And you can do that by submitting your artwork at submit@thenobodiesproject.com. And we promise to look at every single person's artwork who is submitted, and everybody at the Nobodies Project will give you honest and heartfelt feedback. And thank you for being here and checking out the Nobodies Project.